On November 27th, 2021, 26-year-old Sativa Transue was found beaten and strangled to death in her Cancun hotel in Mexico while on vacation with her boyfriend of just 3 years. He was later charged with her murder. This is Sativa's story. Sativa Nichelle Transue was born in Spokane, Washington on May 19th, 1995. Her mother was young when she had her, so the two sort of grew up together in a way. She was raised in a nearby town of Cheney, and although small, Cheney is also a college town and home of Eastern Washington State University, which sits in the heart of it, making it a really fun place to grow up. Her parents were married and eventually divorced, and Sativa had at least 2 siblings, a sister and a brother. As a child, she was always go, go, go. She loved to be outside. You could often find her hiking, boating, or snowboarding during the winter months. Unsurprisingly, she was very athletic. She played softball, basketball, and volleyball. In 2013, Sativa graduated from Cheney High School. After graduating high school, Sativa got accepted to Eastern Washington University, where she graduated in 2017 with a degree in exercise science. Her goal was to further her education and become a massage therapist. Sativa had 2 animals, her emotional support dog named Shadow, and a cat named Flower. Everyone says that Sativa was kind and bubbly, and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. People say that she was a vibrant person with a contagiously bright personality, and I believe them. By her pictures, she seemed like such a cool person to hang out with. She seemed really chill, laid back, and fun. Sativa's friends said that it didn't matter what they were doing, but if they were with Sativa, they were having fun. While living in Cheney, Sativa got a job at a company called Lucid. Her boss recalls Sativa as being an excellent and very kind employee. There's pictures of her and her coworkers on Facebook, and she seems really, really happy and like she's having a lot of fun. Her boss also recalls a time when she asked a fellow employee, a man named Taylor Allen, to help assemble a desk for Sativa. He complied, but during the process, his boss actually witnessed him get so frustrated and upset that he actually took a mallet and smashed it to pieces. His boss actually had to leave the room because of all the flying debris. I'm pretty sure he stayed employed. Why? I don't know. But either way, Sativa and Taylor hit it off and they started a relationship. What I don't think Sativa knew was that this guy had a violent history. A violent history is something that we look for on this channel, especially when we're talking about domestic violence. To ensure everyone's on the same page, domestic violence homicides share a similar pattern of events. So much so that criminologist Jane Monckton Smith has categorized these patterns into 8 stages. In my videos, I try to point out these stages so that you and I can learn from them and hopefully get out of a relationship or intervene in a relationship with someone that we love to help them, right? So stage 1 of these 8 stages is a history of domestic abuse or stalking. In this case, I don't know the details of the assault, but it does solidify the fact that he has a violent history. I'm unclear if the relationship developed quickly or at a typical rate. A relationship that develops quickly reflects stage 2 of the domestic violence homicide, but I do know that he got jealous and controlling very quickly into the relationship and began isolating Sativa from people who didn't like him or by males that he was threatened by. Eventually, he started isolating Sativa from her friends and family in general. About 6 months into the relationship, the family knew that something wasn't right. For one, Sativa used to go home and celebrate holidays and birthdays with her family. But after a while of dating him, she showed up less and less and less. And on the rare occasion that she did attend a celebration with her family, they picked up on the fact that there always seemed to be some sort of consequence or punishment for her. For example, after she visited her family, he would disappear for days with no contact. And sometimes he would even take her emotional support dog. I'm unsure if Sativa told them or if the family just picked up on it, but her family soon discovered that Taylor was monitoring her phone. He had connected it to her computer, so every time she got a message, he saw it. This behavior coincides with stage 3 of domestic violence homicides, where coercive control dominates the relationship. Coercive control is a pattern of behaviors that a perpetrator uses to create an unequal power dynamic to gain power and control in the relationship. They do this by breaking down the victim's self-esteem and independence. Some examples, of course, of controlling behavior are monitoring activities, which is what we see with Taylor and Sativa. Exerting financial control, there's also some evidence that she was experiencing that. Isolating the victim, we know that was true. Insulting, threatening, and intimidating the victim, I don't know if she experienced that, but I assume she did. And involving animals or children to control their partner. She definitely experienced that when he would take Shadow with him and disappear. Sativa was offered a work opportunity in Western Washington in the Seattle area. So she moved to Milton, Washington. She was sad to leave her family, but ecstatic and thrilled for the chance to grow as a person. I'm not sure when, but Sativa told her sister that her boyfriend started using drugs and was drinking heavily. When he got drunk, he became angry, mean, and even violent, punching holes in the walls and breaking things. Sativa knew it wasn't okay, but she nicknamed his behavior T's Beast, or the Beast, to cope with it. Drug or alcohol use increases the lethality rate or danger risk in a relationship significantly. In August 2021, Sativa's sister visited the couple and stayed with them for like a week. Taylor was hardly around. He was always off doing work calls or at the gym. He was just in the periphery the whole time. Her sister remembers there being massive holes in the walls and items broken around their place, but Sativa always had an explanation for it. So it wasn't immediately clear to her sister that this damage was coming from Taylor. As the holiday season approached, many people believed that the relationship was not going well, and Sativa had plans to break things off. She was planning on going home to see her family for the holidays, and she was really excited about it. But her boyfriend didn't want to go, and he didn't want her to go either. Leaving the relationship or going to her family would have threatened his ability to control her, and this reflects stage 4 of the domestic violence homicides, a trigger. We know that they didn't experience the trigger in this case, but I wanted to point it out so you can recognize it. So he offered to take her to Mexico for a last-minute getaway. He arranged for them to stay at a resort with a beautiful $200 a night room on the 4th floor of a hotel in Cancun, Mexico. An offer she could hardly refuse. Sativa had been there once before and absolutely loved it. The only downside was that she was going to have to leave Shadow with Taylor's mom, a woman that she didn't particularly trust, but she decided to go. I believe Sativa called her family on the 24th to let them know that she was not going to be coming to Spokane, and instead the pair were making their way to Cancun. And they left that very day on Wednesday, November 24th. The trip was rocky from the start. The couple was arguing before they even got on the plane. But Sativa sent her family and friends messages saying it was beautiful and she was loving the sunshine there. And she was honest with them. She told them that the pair was arguing, but overall things were going okay and she was enjoying herself. She sent her mom a picture of the view from the hotel room on Thanksgiving. On Friday the 26th, things would change for Sativa's family forever. The couple went to dinner in a restaurant in the hotel, and everything seemed normal between them. They returned to their room, and then they went to the hotel bar, where they proceeded to get heavily intoxicated. Witnesses saw Taylor kiss another woman, and an obviously upset Sativa trying to pull him away. It was so bad security got involved and asked him to actually leave. But he was acting so irrationally that security actually had to escort him to his room. And while they were walking to his room, he started acting crazy. I don't know if he was trying to get away from them or what his ultimate goal was, but apparently he was like running and jumping over fences and chairs and falling, and it was like a whole ordeal. He was 250 pounds and security could barely control him, but eventually got him into his room. They told 140-pound Sativa not to let him leave. Sativa was entering stage 5 of domestic violence homicides, where there is a clear escalation of intensity of controlling tactics and behavior. His erratic behavior reflects that. It didn't take long before somebody at the hotel reported screaming coming from her room. When the hotel staff arrived, they saw that Sativa had a huge 1.5-inch laceration on her chin, and it was so deep that they actually had to call a doctor, and she received stitches on site. At some point, I think it was around that time, Sativa even called the Mexican police to report the assault. Obviously, Sativa was scared. While Sativa was getting her stitches, the hotel staff went looking for Taylor. They found him threatening to jump off the 4th floor, and the staff spent over 3 hours talking him down, refusing to get law enforcement involved, saying that they had everything under control. They eventually got him back into the building and back into the room with Sativa. While they were both in the room, they asked Sativa if her boyfriend had anything to do with her injury. And they asked her if she wanted a separate room. Something again she said no. And let this be a good time to point out to everybody out there, if you're gonna ask somebody if they need help, remove the perpetrator from the room. At some point throughout this whole ordeal, Sativa was messaging some of her friends. And she told them that she had to get stitches, that Taylor was escaping and fighting security, and they honestly got scared for her. The hotel staff changed their room from the 4th floor to the 1st floor so Taylor couldn't jump off the building. And while they were moving, they recall Sativa helping him pack and trying to console him. Hotel staff sees them to their room and then they just leave again like no big deal. And throughout the night, people did hear screaming coming from her room, but nobody reported anything. Nobody checked to see what was going on or intervened, as Sativa was literally screaming for help. And thank God her friends in a different country were paying attention, because when Sativa went radio silent, they began to panic. They started reaching out to Sativa's sister and Sativa's family, and they even called the cops, trying to figure out what to do next. Everyone's worst fears were confirmed when the Mexican consulate called Sativa's mother around 9 a.m. on Saturday. That morning, Saturday the 27th, a freshly showered Taylor, while texting, never taking his eyes off the phone, he said, "My wife is unconscious." Hotel staff was extremely concerned. They sent people to the room right away, and hotel staff found Sativa lying face down on the floor with her purse around her shoulder. People suspect that she was trying to leave. Upon deeper inspection, they found that there was only $17 in her purse, leading many to believe that she was experiencing financial abuse at the time of her death. It was clear that Sativa had fought for her life. Several pieces of her jewelry were ripped out. She had a black eye and bruising to her nose, cheeks, and most of her body. She also had that large laceration and stitches on her chin, and there were marks on her hands and ankles indicating that she was being restrained around the time of her death, as well as signs that she had fought very hard to defend herself. And as if this brutal beating wasn't enough, Taylor went on to strangle Sativa, which was ultimately her cause of death, along with multiple contusions. There are some indications that he called his mother after the attack, but I'm not entirely sure, so I don't feel comfortable getting into all of that. I'm unclear where, but Taylor was arrested as a probable participant in femicide. Dictionary.com defines femicide as the killing of a woman or a girl by a man because of their gender. They say that it's often motivated by a desire to control or dominate women. In most countries, femicide is not a different charge from homicide. But Mexico, along with 16 other countries, include femicide as a specific legal criminal charge. Under federal Mexican law, a person, typically male, can face up to 60 years in prison if convicted of femicide. Although Taylor was arrested and charged, he was allowed to fly back to the United States, and on December 2nd, he was arrested by the Spokane Police Department. I don't think that we'll ever know if this murder was planned or if it happened in the moment, or if Taylor ever stopped and realized what he was doing before he decided to continue the fatal attack. What we do know is that as it relates to the stages of domestic violence, homicide, stage 6, stage 7, and stage 8 all occurred in those 2 hotel rooms that evening. Sativa's family is still in the process of fighting for justice. They had to hire an attorney in Mexico to get her body released back to the family in the United States. It's not an easy process for somebody to pass away overseas or in a different country and then to get their body back to the United States, especially when there's a criminal charge and an investigation. And at first, Taylor's attorneys tried to keep her body there. But on Friday, December 9th, Sativa was finally returned to her family in Washington, where she was buried and put to rest. This has obviously been an extremely challenging, painful, and costly process for Sativa's family. They set up a GoFundMe to help with the costs, and I'll link it below in case anybody can help. And if you can believe it, the story gets even worse. Back in the United States, things were not any better. After Sativa died, her mom and Sativa were the only two people on the lease, and Sativa's mom had the locks changed. Taylor's mom tried desperately to get into the apartment, to the point of calling the leasing office like 100 times in one day or some ridiculous amount like that. And the next day, the family went to Sativa's apartment and found that her door had been kicked in, and there were a lot of items that had been stolen. These items, unsurprisingly, were very specific to Taylor. But again, I don't have proof, so I'm not going to get into all that. And don't worry, guys, there's even more. Taylor's mom has never returned Shadow to Sativa's family, even after she was asked. Is there a way we can help get Shadow back to Sativa's family? Because I would really, really like that. I'm very unsettled by this entire story. I mean, the family has gone through so much already, and just to have to go through one more thing like this when it's your emotional support dog is just unbelievable. It really is unbelievable and sick. This woman is sick. The most recent update on Taylor is that he is back in prison in Cancun and has joined the cartel. Hopefully, he'll get the maximum sentence, which is what her family is fighting for. But either way, his memory will disappear into the darkness of the prison system, never to be thought about again. Today, I'm sharing Sativa's story in hopes that it might inspire someone in a violent or toxic relationship to get out and to get some support. And to remind Taylor's mom and the Washington State Police Department that Sativa's dog, her baby, is in the hands of her murderer's family. Washington State Police Department, please do something. We will continue to support Sativa's family, and we will not remember Sativa for what happened to her, but for who she was as a person. A beautiful, kind, bubbly, fun, loving, and caring person. She was a light in the lives of everyone she loved. And for those of us who hear her story, we'll remember her for her laugh, a laugh that was funnier than what was even being laughed at, and her contagious love for adventure and for peace. If you find it in your heart, please light a candle for Sativa or for anybody who has lost their lives at the hands of domestic violence. And if you or if anyone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out to somebody in your support network or even a local or national resource, and let people know what's going on. Explore safety plans. There's even some on this page. So many people are waiting for you, waiting to help you. As always, please stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.
Ha ha ha!